Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to take complex ideas and really distill them down into something essential and engaging for you. And today, we're embarking on, well, a really foundational journey. It's into one of the most, maybe the most systematic explanations of human experience ever put down. Our mission for this deep dive, anyway, is to unpack an ancient blueprint, a blueprint for understanding suffering, but also, crucially, finding a path to freedom. We're going straight to the source text, a discourse called the Saccavibhaṅgasuttaṃ. That translates roughly to the discourse on the analysis of the truths. And we'll be exploring the core teaching that the text says the Buddha himself declared as the unsurpassed wheel of Dhamma, something set in motion way back in Varanasi. It's presented as this profound framework meant to be, and these are the words used, taught, described, established, disclosed, analyzed, and made plain. Really thorough.
Exactly. And that's what's so striking, isn't it? This isn't just, high-flown philosophy. It offers a remarkably systematic, almost practical approach to life's biggest questions. And it's all broken down into what we know as the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah.
What's really compelling, too, is how a key disciple then takes these truths and elaborates on them with just incredible precision. It becomes a kind of step-by-step guide for anyone looking for clarity.
Okay, so the source itself, it starts with the Buddha speaking to his monks, right? Announcing that he set this unsurpassed wheel of Dhamma in motion concerning these Four Noble Truths. And he says it's a teaching that, well, basically cannot be turned back or refuted by anyone. Quite a claim.
It is, and what's fascinating there is the emphasis on how unshakable his teaching is meant to be. It implies a kind of universality, a depth, something that aims to, transcend individual beliefs, suggesting it's fundamental to the human condition itself, regardless of time or culture.
And straight away, the Buddha gives some very practical advice, almost like pointing them to the best tutors. He tells the monks, associate with Sariputta and Moggallana. He even gives them roles, doesn't he? Saying Sariputta is like a begetter, like a parent figure, and Moggallana is like a nurturer for what's born from that. It's a strong endorsement.
Oh, absolutely. It really underscores the importance placed on good teachers, on guides for this kind of understanding. And Sariputta specifically is highlighted for his ability to instruct in the fruit of stream entry, sort of the first stage of awakening, while Moggallana guides towards the highest goal. But crucially for us, for this deep dive, the text explicitly states Sariputta is capable of explaining the Four Noble Truths in detail. It's like saying, listen to this guy.
And that's exactly what happens next in the text. The Buddha leaves and Sariputta steps up. He first reiterates the Buddha's declaration about the Four Noble Truths, and then he turns to the monks and starts breaking down each one meticulously. So yeah, let's follow his explanation. Let's unpack it with him. He starts naturally with the first noble truth. Now, this is often translated simply as suffering, but the text, through Sariputta, gives us something much more expansive, more nuanced than just feeling unhappy. So what exactly is this dukkha?
Well, Sariputta provides this incredibly comprehensive list, almost like a diagnostic checklist. He says birth is suffering, aging is suffering, death is suffering. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Not getting what one wants is suffering. And then, to summarize, he concludes, in brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging are suffering.
Okay, whoa, that's a lot. It clearly goes way beyond just, physical pain or feeling down, doesn't it? When Sariputta elaborates on each of these points, birth, aging, death, sorrow, what's the underlying emphasis? What's he getting at?
He's really defining dukkha not just as those moments of unpleasantness, but as this inherent unsatisfactoriness woven into existence itself. So, birth isn't just the event, it's the whole process. Coming into being, getting these physical and mental components, acquiring senses, sort of sets the stage for everything else, including decay. And aging isn't just getting wrinkles, it's the constant process of decay, life dwindling, faculties declining, it's ongoing. Death, too, the breaking up, the perishing, the end of the life faculty.
Right, so it's not just the specific event we might dislike, but the entire process and the inherent nature of our conditioned existence that's being flagged as, well, unsatisfactory, dukkha. And then there's that really poignant bit. Not getting what one wants is suffering. Sariputta explains how beings wish they weren't subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and all the rest, but, you can't just wish it away. So when he wraps this all up by linking it back to the 5 aggregates of clinging, what's the key insight there? Why are our fundamental components, form, feeling, perception, etc., identified with suffering?
This is where it gets really deep. These aggregates form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. They basically make up our entire physical and mental experience, our whole psychophysical being. The profound point Sariputta makes isn't that the aggregates themselves are inherently bad, but that our clinging to them is the problem. We grasp onto these things, which are, by their very nature, impermanent, constantly changing. We build our identity, our desires, our whole world on this unstable foundation. It's that attachment to what is fundamentally unstable that's the real engine generating this universal experience of suffering or unsatisfactoriness.
Okay. So if suffering, or dukkha, is this incredibly broad, deeply embedded part of existence, rooted in clinging to impermanence, what does Sariputta say causes it? What's the origin? Because this is where the diagnosis gets really specific, isn't it? Like finding the exact cause of the illness.
Exactly. The text is very clear. It states the origin of suffering is craving. The Pali word is tacha. And this craving is described as what leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, delighting in this or that. It's the driving force keeping the cycle going.
And Sariputta doesn't just leave it as one general craving, does he? I remember he breaks it down.
That's right. He gets very specific, identifying 3 distinct types.
Yeah.
Sensual craving, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. And these aren't just, minor wants. They're presented as deep-seated drives. Sensual craving is pretty straightforward. The desire for pleasant sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches. Craving for existence is that deep urge to continue, to become something more, to persist. And then there's craving for non-existence, which is fascinating. It's the desire to not be, to annihilate oneself, or maybe just to escape painful feelings or situations entirely. If you look at the bigger picture, these 3 drives keep us trapped in cycles of dissatisfaction because they're always reaching for something outside or trying to push something away instead of finding peace within the changing nature of things.
Okay, so we have suffering defined broadly, and its specific origin identified as this multifaceted craving. The next logical question, the hopeful one, is, can it stop? Can suffering cease? What does Sariputta tell us about the cessation of suffering? The third noble truth.
He describes it very directly. Cessation is the complete fading away and cessation of that very craving. And he uses words like giving it up, relinquishing it, release from it, detachment from it. It paints a picture of a very active process. It's about actively letting go, dismantling that engine of craving we just identified, not just passively wishing it would all go away.
Right. Which leads us straight into the fourth noble truth, the how-to. The solution, the path to actually achieve that cessation. Sariputta lays out what's called the Noble Eightfold Path, and looking at the text, it's a remarkably comprehensive guide, not just vague principles, but very specific components.
It really is the practical manual, and Sariputta details each of the 8 parts. You can kind of group them into broadly wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It covers everything. It kicks off with right view. And right view is defined basically as understanding these 4 noble truths we've just been talking about. Knowledge of suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path. It's seeing reality clearly. Then comes right intention. This is about aligning your inner world, your thoughts. Specifically, the intention of renunciation, letting go of harmful desires, the intention of non-ill will, cultivating kindness, and the intention of harmlessness, developing compassion.
So it starts with understanding reality, then cultivating the right mindset, the right motivation. Makes sense. What about our actions in the world? How does the path guide those?
Exactly. The next section is all about ethical conduct. We have right speech, which Sariputta defines as abstaining from lying, divisive talk that sets people against each other, harsh or abusive language, and idle chatter, pointless gossip. Basically, speaking truthfully and beneficially. Then right action. This means abstaining from taking life, stealing, or taking what's not freely given, and sexual misconduct. It's about ensuring our physical actions don't cause harm. And right livelihood. This involves abandoning ways of earning a living that cause harm, like dealing in weapons, poisons, or exploiting beings, and pursuing work that is ethical and doesn't compromise these principles.
Okay, so we've covered wisdom, intention, and ethical behavior, speech, action, livelihood. That seems pretty comprehensive already. But there's more, focusing on cultivating the mind itself.
Yes, the final group is about mental discipline, really training the mind. And right effort here is fascinatingly detailed. Sariputta breaks it down into 4 specific efforts. It's very active. First, generating the desire and effort to prevent negative, unwholesome states of mind from arising if they haven't yet. Second, to abandon them if they have already arisen. Third, generating the desire and effort to cultivate positive, wholesome states like kindness or focus if they haven't arisen yet. And fourth, to maintain and develop those positive states once they're present. It's like actively tending the garden of your mind, weeding and nurturing.
That's a great analogy, a very proactive approach to mental well-being.
Definitely. Then comes right mindfulness.
Yeah.
Sariputta describes this as dwelling while contemplating the body as body, feelings as feelings, mind as mind, and mental objects or phenomena as phenomena. It means being present, observing experience directly with clear comprehension, being mindful, and importantly, having overcome greed and distress regarding the world. It's about present moment awareness without judgment or excessive reaction.
And the final step.
The final step is right concentration. This involves a progressive training in meditative absorption, moving through stages called jhanas. It starts with withdrawing from sensual pleasures and unwholesome states, entering a state accompanied by thought and examination, filled with joy and pleasure born of seclusion. Then moving to deeper states, where thought and examination fade, replaced by internal confidence and unification of mind, still with joy and pleasure, but now born of concentration itself. And it continues, eventually reaching states of pure equanimity and mindfulness, beyond pleasure and pain. It's about cultivating profound mental stillness, stability, and clarity. What's really key about this whole path is how interconnected the parts are. Ethical conduct supports concentration. Concentration supports wisdom. Wisdom informs intention, and so on. It's a holistic system.
Wow. That is an incredibly detailed roadmap. What an amazing deep dive into this foundational teaching. Sariputta really did, just as the Buddha said he could, break down these Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path into such meticulous, practical detail. It really moves far beyond abstract ideas into a very specific, interconnected guide for living, doesn't it?
That's exactly it, yeah. If you step back and look at the whole structure Sariputta lays out, this ancient discourse is essentially offering a complete diagnostic and treatment plan for the human condition. It identifies the universal problem dukkha, it pinpoints the precise cause craving, it asserts that, yes, an end to the problem is possible cessation, and then it provides this detailed step-by-step prescription for achieving that end, the Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
It's really a profound testament to the depth of analytical thought, but also the practical guidance present in these texts.
Thank you for guiding us through that intricate analysis. It's been fascinating, and thank you for joining us on this deep dive. As you go about your day, maybe consider this. Sariputta's analysis of dukkha, of suffering, went beyond just pain or sadness. He included things like the very fact of birth or the nature of our aggregates, our components as sources of unsatisfactoriness, primarily because of their impermanence and our tendency to cling. So the provocative thought is this. Which of these broader, perhaps less obvious aspects of dukkha that Sariputta pointed out might be subtly influencing your own experience, maybe without you fully noticing it day to day? And how might seeing that, even just a little through the lens he provided, shift your perspective?